Yiging flicked Hajin in the forehead and asked what he was talking about. Hajin apologized again, saying he heard that their mother passed away while giving birth to him. Yiging grabbed Hajin by the cheeks, telling him not to say things like that. He said that since he won, Hajin has to do what he says from now on, and he asked Hajin to come to his room tomorrow. Xiangqin motivated Yiging by saying he would tell him how to extend his lifespan, but he didn't expect that Yiging would actually win. The next day at Yiging's abode, Yiging told Hajin that he wanted him to tell their father that he would take the young leader's position, which shocked Hajin. In order to become the young leader, there are 2 requirements to fulfill. The first is to get permission from the court of elders and also the patriarch. Hajin has only fulfilled the first requirement condition, and therefore he is not the official young leader. Hajin reminded Yiging that once they go through with this decision, they won't be able to go back. Yiging told Hajin that he doesn't want the young leader position. He says since he can't live past 20, he'd rather leave the annoying things to his little brother and live his life freely. Xiangqin was a little disappointed. This was his first time seeing someone reject the young leader position. Yiging was wondering who told Hajin about their mother. He says even though their mother did have a hard time giving birth to Hajin, the patriarch had everyone keep quiet about the matter. Hajin replied saying their uncle told him. Xiangqin in an outburst called Yiging's uncle a bastard. Yiging told him that his uncle Jinti is one of the few good people in the Beak clan. However, Xiangqin still thought Jinti was a pain in the ass. Hajin asked Yiging what he would be doing when he becomes the young leader. Yiging says he doesn't want to sit idly by waiting for his death, so he will try to fix his body. Hajin was excited his brother hadn't given up on life. He asked Yiging if he had gotten in contact with the Heaven's Master Divine Physician. Yiging told his brother that he hadn't. He says even if he got into contact with the physician, it's not a guarantee he can fix his Kai blockage. He told Hajin that his plan is to visit Qinggrim. In a flashback, after Yiging beat Hajin and capture the goblin, we see Xiangqin telling Yiging that the old geezers at Qinggrim are something special, and they might be able to help Yiging. There are many expert martial artists in the world, but not many can be considered to have reached a transcendence above human limits. The few who have achieved this title are the Orthodox faction's Abbot of Shaolin, the Wuding sect's Sword Emperor, and the Qinggrim's Miram Master. Qinggrim is comparable to the 9 great sects, but only those whose skills have been acknowledged may leave the woods of the territory, so there's little known about them despite their scale. Xiangqin says he stayed at Qinggrim and he helped them. This confused Yiging because he never heard about this before in the Beak clan, and Xiangqin says it's because he didn't tell the clan about it. Yiging guessed that Qinggrim was powerful back in the day too, so he was beginning to wonder what they would need for them to ask the Divine Immortal Blade for help. Xiangqin says if Yiging showed Qinggrim the token he received back then, he is sure they will listen to whatever request Yiging has. Yiging looked confused, so Xiangqin told him that the token he was talking about is sealed inside the Qinglong Temple. In the present, Hajin says he has heard rumors that those in Qinggrim are proficient with internal energy. Yiging says then maybe they can help with his Kai blockage. Hajin told Yiging that he might be able to meet someone from Qinggrim soon. A member of Qinggrim is supposed to visit the Beak clan in a few days. Yiging became excited because he will be able to show them the token and ask for help quicker. Xiangqin told Yiging not to waste this opportunity. He warned Yiging saying he set up something to prevent thieves, so Yiging better bring a subordinate. Yiging told Xiangqin that he has no subordinates, and Xiangqin pointed to Hajin saying Yiging has one right in front of him. Yiging turned to Hajin and he asked him if he wanted to join him tomorrow so they could run a few errands. Without much thought, Hajin quickly accepted. The next day, Hajin and Yiging made their way through the streets. Hajin looked disgruntled and was covered in mud. Yiging turned to Hajin asking if he was still mad. He says Hajin shouldn't be mad because he told him to be inconspicuous. Hajin replied saying he thought Yiging meant sneaking out. Yiging realized that it might have been cruel to tell his little brother who came to his house all dressed up to roll in mud. He told Hajin that to make up for it he could get a snack, and Hajin quickly ran to one of the snack stands. Yiging had a thought. This was Hajin's first time out without any escorting warriors, so it must be exciting for him. Yiging turned to Xiangqin asking if this was the correct way. He was worried because they were going through a busy path. Xiangqin says they are going to a temple that worships God, so of course it'll be busy. Yiging bought Hajin the snack and they continued making their way through the street. Hajin asked Yiging how he found out about the Immortal Blade's relic. Yiging said the Immortal Blade lived in the house he is staying at, and he saw information about the relic in one of the books. Hajin was excited. He says he hoped a relic of the Divine Immortal Blade that even the adults don't know about is there. Yiging looked at his little brother asking if he admired the Divine Immortal Blade. Hajin replied saying yes. He told Yiging that no one was as great of a martial artist as he was. This made Xiangqin happy and he says Hajin is a smart kid unlike his older brother. Yiging became irritated and he asked Xiangqin to lead the way. Xiangqin replied telling Yiging not to rush him. A short while later he told them that they had arrived. Hajin looked at the building in amazement asking his brother if the relic was really in the pavilion in front of them. Yiging was in disbelief too. He asked Xiangchen if maybe the temple he went to was gone, and Xiangchen replied saying there's no way someone would get rid of a temple for a god of wealth when they built it wanting wealth. He was sure they would find his relic inside. Yiging told Hajun that they should get inside, but they were stopped at the gate by a guard, who shooed them away because they looked like beggars. Yiging handed the guard a small pouch filled with silver coins, which shocked the guard. The guard began to wonder where a kid who was dressed like a beggar got all that money from. Yiging told the guard that he wants someone to guide him to a nice and quiet spot, and the guard quickly called for a guide. The guide brought Yiging and Hajun to one of their nicest rooms. Yiging told the guide to bring him a dish the cook is most confident in. He says he and his little brother have things to talk about, so the guide can bring their food a bit later. After the guide left, Yiging took a look out the window. While looking out the window, Xiangchen saw a building that looked familiar. He told Yiging that the relic was inside the building. Yiging pointed out the building to Hajun saying the relic should be inside. Yiging and Hajun made their way to the building that Yiging pointed out and they entered. Inside, Xiangchen pointed at the heel of the statue telling Yiging to press it. Yiging pressed the heel of the statue, opening a secret hatch in the floor. Hajun was impressed. He praised Yiging for finding the secret hatch. This irritated Xiangchen because he thought Hajun should be admiring him. Yiging told Hajun that since they don't know what might be in there they should be careful. Then they dropped into the secret hatch. At the bottom of the hatch they were faced with a statue. Yiging looked around. There were traces that show that people have been here. So he was wondering if the pavilion had already found this place. He found a desk with papers scattered all over. Yiging made his way over to the desk and he began reading the papers. Branch manager Li Ryung died from a disease. The pavilion owner Li So-yoon goes by Jumhwa, daughter of Li Ryung. He owns 4 pavilions and disguised them as the mythical pavilions, and he needs to die. Yiging tried to read the rest, but it was all written in code. Xiangchen told Yiging that the letter is written in the lower class sect's code, and it seems like they're fighting over the Zion branch manager position. Hajun found a statue and he asked Yiging if it's a statue of a Pixiu. Xiangchen recognized the statue and he told Yiging that what they are looking for is inside. All they need to do is stab the statue in the eye. Yiging told Hajun that the relic they are looking for is probably inside the statue, and he asked him to move. Yiging took out his rusty sword and stabbed the statue in the eye, and a secret door opened. Yiging covered his eyes because it was so bright. Hajun was confused. He questioned what light Yiging was seeing when it was so dark. Xiangchen smiled and said he knew Yiging wasn't ordinary the moment he pulled his sealed sword. Xiangchen told Yiging to enter the secret room and grab the chance he had given him. Yiging entered the secret room and learnt that the source of the light was a necklace. He grabbed the necklace and suddenly he was in a strange place. Xiangchen appeared behind him and he grabbed his shoulders. Yiging was surprised because Xiangchen's body wasn't transparent. Xiangchen smiled saying Yiging was born with heavenly luck. Yiging reminded Xiangchen that he has Kai blockage, and he asked how that is considered lucky. Xiangchen says if it wasn't for Yiging's heavenly luck he wouldn't get to learn from a master like him, and he wouldn't have been able to absorb the spiritual power of the Pixiu's eye. Yiging held the relic, questioning if it was really a Pixiu's eye. Xiangchen confirmed that it was, saying he and Chengrim plucked out the monster's eye to make the necklace themselves. At first Yiging found it hard to believe, but he looked at Xiangchen realizing that ghosts exist so monsters from tales wouldn't be far-fetched. Xiangchen explained that internal energy from the lower Danshan comes from the middle Danshan, and the middle Danshan's source is the upper Danshan. The upper Danshan's source of strength is spiritual power, and if Yiging keeps the necklace on, it will replenish a bit of his Kai. After Xiangchen's explanation, Yiging suddenly felt weak. He fell to the ground and Xiangchen sneered saying Yiging obtained something that's normally very hard to get. Yiging's eyes began to close, and as he drifted back into consciousness he could hear Hajun asking him to wake up. Xiangchen told Yiging that he didn't like him because of his luck. Yiging opened his eyes, and Hajun asked him if he was okay. He says Yiging had been passed out for an hour. Yiging was still in shock, but he didn't get a moment to process his shock because they suddenly heard movements outside the secret room. Hajun whispered to Yiging saying he should prepare his sword. As Yiging was grabbing his sword, Xiangchen says he woke up at the perfect time. Confused, Yiging asked Xiangchen what he meant, and Xiangchen says it was Yiging's chance to test out his newly absorbed power on an opponent. The door to the secret room opened and a group of men entered, shocked to see Yiging and Hajun in the room. They didn't know what to do because one of them says he will have nightmares if he killed a kid. Yiging asked the men if they were from the lower 5th gate. He says he would reward them if they let him and his brother go. Xiangchen was disappointed. He asked Yiging if he was scared, and Yiging says it would be a good opportunity to build a good relationship with the lower 5th gate. The one that seemed to be the leader unsheathed his sword. He praised Yiging for his confidence, but says things will get difficult if they let them go. Yiging told Hajun to attack, and Hajun quickly dealt with the man that seemed to be the leader. The others were enraged and they all rushed in to attack Hajun. Seongchan told Yiging that he should go in and attack too. Yiging rushed at one of the men. He managed to slash the man in the chest, but it was too shallow and his sword got stuck. As Yiging was trying to get his sword back, one of the men noticed him and attacked. Seongchan advised Yiging to let go of the sword. He almost lost his head. Seongchan told him to attack, saying there's always an opportunity after danger. Yiging poked the man's eyes out. The men started swinging his sword around hoping to hit Yiging. Yiging moved behind the man and grabbed his sword. Seongchan told him that if he was too weak he should add a rotational spin to his attack. Yiging used Seongchan's advice and he was able to cut the man's head off. Seongchan was impressed. However, he reminded Yiging that he is a member of the Beak clan, so he shouldn't become prideful because he took care of some profiteers. Yiging said he knows. He turned to Hajun asking if he was okay. Hajun didn't seem bothered at all, so Yiging asked if this was his first fight. Hajun replied saying this was actually his third. When Yiging thought about it, this wasn't his first time killing someone either. The first time he killed was in his previous life. Some crazy guy was running around while holding a knife at a bus stop. In order to protect his mother who was with him, Yiging trucked the assailant into oncoming traffic. After a police investigation, he was found not guilty, but the thought of having killed someone made him sick for a couple of days. The second time he killed was when Seongchan possessed his body to kill those assassins, but surprisingly it wasn't as shocking as the time he killed in his previous life. He thought that might be because he was in a Miram world, or maybe because of his Beak bloodline. Yiging thought that if the men came to kill him they should have been prepared to die. Seongchan praised Yiging for having that mindset, and suddenly a man who was tied up thanked Yiging for saving his life. He says since he is now indebted to him, he would make sure to reward him. Hajun whispered to Yiging asking if he should take care of the man as well. Yiging said no. He began to approach the man asking for his name. The man thanked Yiging again, and he told him that his name is Youngwoo. The name was mentioned in the papers Yiging read earlier. Youngwoo should be affiliated with the Western Branch. He asked Youngwoo if the people he just cut down were traitors of the lower fifth gate. Youngwoo said yes, and he told Yiging that they revolted as soon as the previous branch chief passed away. Youngwoo says he will report this to the current branch chief and he will be sure to reward Yiging. Yiging asked Youngwoo for the name of the branch chief. However, Youngwoo refused. He told Yiging that he couldn't tell him the name of the branch chief, but he will not forget this debt. Yiging questioned how he was supposed to trust Youngwoo's word then. Youngwoo remained silent, so Yiging decided he must die. To intimidate Youngwoo, Yiging swung his sword aiming for his head. But still Youngwoo didn't give up the branch manager's name. Yiging was impressed. He praised Youngwoo for his loyalty. Yiging just wanted to scare Youngwoo, but the sword was so heavy that he almost cut his head off. He nervously asked Youngwoo how he planned to repay him. Youngwoo said firstly Yiging could leave the cleanup of this place to him. Second, his branch excels at gathering information. So if Yiging gives him a chance, he will be sure to serve him to the best of his abilities. Yiging thought Youngwoo was more useful than firstly anticipated. He turned to Seongchan asking if he should trust Youngwoo. Seongchan says if it's the lower branch it would be good to build a relationship with them. However, he told Yiging that he could do whatever he wanted. Before trusting Youngwoo, Yiging decided to test his abilities. He asked Youngwoo to take a guess at who he was, and if he gave a plausible answer he would trust him. Youngwoo's eyes were blindfolded so he couldn't be sure, but Yiging's voice sounded like he was in his teens. His speech was elegant, so Youngwoo was certain he was from a famous family. If there was a place with martial arts masters in their teens it would be the Beak clan. In disbelief, Youngwoo asked Yiging if he was the Beak clan's prodigy Beak Hajun, who is talented unlike his older brother. Seongchan burst out laughing. Yiging was irritated, but he recognized that Youngwoo was skilled. He decided to trust him. He threw him a pouch of money, asking him to organize the information of people who visit the Beak clan. Youngwoo asked Yiging to leave it to him. Yiging turned to Hajun saying they should start heading back. Hajun became nervous, because when they get back to the clan they will be in a lot of trouble. Yiging told Hajun not to worry. He says since it's his responsibility he will make sure they don't get in too much trouble. At the Red Dragon Hall, the clan manager informed Ryusun that Yiging took Hajun out to a drinking store. He says a vassal nearby managed to see them. Ryusun says Yiging has been arrogant ever since he came back to the clan, and since this won't do he will have to visit Yiging personally. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video then hit the like button.